Welcome to Professor Purl, a YouTube channel about knitting and other crafts. I'm Nicole, and you can find me on Instagram as profpurl, Ravelry as profpurl, and there's a Ravelry group, Professor Purl Podcast. And I have an email, professorpurlpodcast@gmail.com. So I have a couple of winners to announce. I had to draw a new winner for this skein of hedgehog fibers. And so the new winner is Dana Nellums. Congratulations. Please send me an email and I'll get this out to you. And then I have another prize to do a giveaway for, which are these pearl strings, which are these cords to try on your garment. And a really cute thing happened, which is I had been getting some emails from some viewers and having some fun chats. And then I did a random number generator for this. And it was somebody who I've been emailing. So I was like, that's just serendipity there. So Barbara Hermsmeyer, congratulations. Please send me another email, this time with your contact information, and I can send these to you. So in two other news items about our channel is that it's reached 1,000 subscribers, and I'm just blown away because I came here to have community and to make knitting friends, and there's 1,000 of you that have hit subscribe now. I know that all of you might think you're my friend, but if you emailed me or commented, I've really tried to reply to every single person that's contacted me, and it's been very rewarding to like have all these conversations about knitting basically every day. And along those lines, there seemed to be an overwhelming response about having a Love Note knit along. Love Note is a sweater by Tin Can Knits that I've shown in previous episodes, and there seems to be a lot of people interested in doing this together. So let's do it. And I have a whole separate video describing the knit along and also a video on yarn choices if you're interested in yarn choices. You might already know what yarn you want to use, and that's amazing. This is just an extra video for people that want to know more or in the market for buying new yarn or want to know what they should look for in their stash. So just some quick details about that. You can use the hashtag #LoveNoteLoveKnitAlong, and it'll go October 1st to December 1st. And you can participate on Instagram with the hashtag, or if you use Ravelry, you can head over there, and there's already a chatter thread started. And I'm just really excited to have community to knit this with together, to go through the process of knitting this sweater. And as you know, I've knit 3 of them, and I think it'll make it really special for this 4th one to have so many people knitting it together. And so I feel like the hashtag #LoveNoteLoveKnitAlong is so appropriate. And if you're feeling nervous about knitting the sweater because you haven't knit a sweater before, I just want to encourage you that this is a great first sweater to do. If you're feeling nervous about knitting the sweater because you've knit other sweaters and they haven't fit you, this is a size inclusive pattern and has been knit by so many people, and everybody looks really great in it. And so I would just encourage you to maybe look through the hashtag on Instagram or look through some projects on Ravelry and be inspired by like how amazing everybody looks in this sweater and like how well designed it is. So I'm gonna hop into the typical scene, finished objects, whips, but I did want to talk about what I'm wearing today because the last episode, I got a lot of questions about the t-shirt I was wearing. People were like, what's up with this t-shirt? And I never talked about it. It was a knitting t-shirt. Well, it is a knitting t-shirt, and it's made by Nerdbird Makery, which is one of my favorite makers. I've got some bags, pins, t-shirts, like go check Nerdbird Makery out. It's amazing. And I bought that particular t-shirt at Starlight Knitting Society, which is a local yarn store in Portland. And Nerdbird Makery had a pop-up shop there, and it was super cute. But that particular shirt that I purchased, I actually think was a shirt that was designed for Stitches West, but I really liked the color of it. I mean, the black t-shirt, but I mean, black with white printing. I just think it looks really modern, and I loved that they had on the shirt that there's different types of knitters represented, and including a male knitter. And I think that having diversity in who we have in pictures and on graphics are super important. And so, yeah, I love, love, love Nerdbird Makery. Can't speak highly enough about the products. So today I am wearing a shirt that I made. Now, this is the first non-knitting content that I've shown on this channel, and it's only the second thing I ever sewed. So if you're thinking, oh, that collar doesn't lie that great, yeah, there was things that were learned while I sewed this. So the pattern for this shirt is from 100 Acts of Sewing, and it's shirt number 1. And I have sewn a couple of these, and I'm working on my 3rd one. I'm noticing a trend as I'm talking that, you know, I knit patterns more than once and also sew patterns more than once. I guess if you like it, you like it. I love this shirt number 1. I think for me, I'm a new sewist, and I am self-taught. Side note, if you have any recommendations for classes around sewing, like, let me know, either in the Portland area or online. I would love to know. And I also, besides it being easy to sew, it is a shape that is the kind of thing I like to wear. Like, you can see it's like kind of boxy, and I just love that. And so one of the things I'm trying to do with this particular pattern, because I don't know much about sewing, is just try different fabrics. So this fabric is linen that I got from Joann Fabrics. And so I sewed this shirt out of linen. And then I also sewed this shirt out of quilting cotton, is that how you say it? And I'm also working on one now that is like a pate, I think. And I just wanted to try this pattern in different fabrics and see how I like it. And what I learned from sewing this is that when you're doing kind of a collar, and basically when you're folding it over, when you're doing a collar and you're folding it over, you should cut the fabric. And I didn't. It helps it lay flat. I'm not sure. You know, I'm thinking I'm not describing this well, but basically when you have sort of these curved things, if you don't snip the fabric, it can't bend. And so I am thinking that's why you snip it. Now, I'm realizing very quickly as I'm showing my sewing content that it'll be important for me to focus on knitting content, because I am not an expert at sewing, but I do wear this shirt a lot. One of the things I did different from the pattern is I added some bias tape to the sleeves, because I noticed that I actually really like, as a new sewist, like the bias tape, it helps me know how to sew my hems well. I don't know, I really like it. So I've used the bias tape on my shirt number 1s quite a bit. I didn't do it on the bottom. I don't know why. And kind of adds like a little bit more structure to the sleeve, which I like. And then my necklace is my most favorite stitch markers. Now I like a lot of stitch markers, and I feel like you can't, it's one of those things you can never have too much of, but I do have like, they're on my top here, which is, if you can see, those are Purls. And yeah, so it's Purl Smith. These are stitch markers, and they just pop right off, and you can use them in your knitting. I can honestly say I've never done that. I've never like been wearing this necklace and just like popped one of these stitch markers off. I've never done that. I have used these stitch markers, and I have worn this as a necklace, but I've never, it would be ideal if you needed a stitch marker and you were wearing this and you just pop it right off, but just, it's never worked out that way for me. Okay, I will hop into finished objects now. So my first finished object will be expected. You've seen it before. It is my Make Your Mark socks from Purl and Postulates. Purl and Postulates. And they're these shorty socks. I love to knit socks top down, but I did these toe up, and I've talked about some of the modifications I made to the pattern on the previous episode, so I won't go into that here, but they're done. And right in time for back to school season, so that's really exciting. I have a funny story about these. I set a goal to finish these on October 31st because, oh my goodness, August 31st, because that was the end of summer sock camp. And I wanted to enter this in the magic loop cabin because I don't typically knit magic loop and I don't typically knit toe up. And I did both of those things because of summer sock camp. And I kept knitting other things, to be honest, and so I didn't finish these in time. But more like, I guess why I'm sharing it more importantly is that I was in this funny situation where on August 30th, I decided to pick up the second sock and try to attempt to finish it for summer sock camp. And it just didn't happen for me. In fact, on August 31st, that night, I stayed up really late. It was like 10 o'clock and I was like, you know, right here, and I'm going. And then at like 11, I started the heel. It was a afterthought heel, and I'm just going along, and it was so fun. I didn't make the deadline. I think it was like 1 a.m. and I was like, I'm going to bed, and I didn't finish them in time, but it was fun to try. And so then the next day I wrapped up the socks. So I did finish these on September 1st. And so I didn't make the deadline, but I had fun with it. Like I was watching like a show on TV and just having fun with it. And so I thought I would bring that up in terms of like the Love Note knit along. Like maybe you'll make the deadline of finishing it by December 1st, and that would be really awesome because then you'll have a sweater in December to wear. And can enter your sweater in the finished objects thread or post on Instagram. But it also, like, it can be fun just to participate in the community without finishing by a deadline too. And when we do these things, these self-imposed deadlines, they're just our deadlines. Like, you don't have to do it, right? And so I guess this is a little self-talk for myself, which is just to enjoy being part of it, even if you don't get to enter this in the finished object thread. And I did, I really did enjoy it. And I didn't finish it for summer sock camp, but these were for summer sock camp for me. So anyway. Okay, the other finished object I have is my very first test knit. So cute. So this is a baby hat. I'll actually show you. This is how you knit it from the bottom up here. And it's got this quite long ribbing and I just think it's so cute. The other thing I really love about it is when there's this much ribbing, it makes sort of the size range quite large, where it could fit a little baby head so cutely, whereas the baby gets bigger, toddler-like, it probably would still fit them too. So I haven't mentioned the pattern or the yarn yet. So the yarn is Rowan Pure Worsted. I bought this yarn during a sale. So Oregon Yarn Company. It was in McMinnville. It was going out of business. And no, first they moved and then they were closing their business. And I think it was at the moving sale I got this. And I didn't know what I was going to use it for at the time. And incidentally, I had bought several skeins of this. I used it all for baby knits, which has been so fun. So the pattern is the Rusko Beanie by Annijuttiknits. She's a Finnish designer. She's got a podcast and Instagram. You should go check her out. I think she's really fun. And yeah, and the deadline was September 12th. I finished the object. I've emailed the feedback. I'm thrilled to have done my very first test knit. And I actually want to knit some more of these. So, and I think in other sizes other than this, because I have a friend who's pregnant right now, so I would love to make her a hat and send it. And I'd like to make an adult size one of these. So yeah, this isn't the last Rusko Beanie for me. So I'll transition from my Rusko Beanie and my finished object to talk about Sip Sip Knit. So again, it's like 3-ish p.m. here on the West Coast and I'm drinking coffee. This specifically is Caravan Coffee, which is a local coffee roaster to me. But I wanted to share a cute story. So I was chatting with Ania from Annijuttiknits, and I'm just feeling terrible because I'm probably not giving this a proper Finnish accent, or I'm just butchering it, I'm sure, so I'm trying to say. And so we were having an Instagram chat, and I've gone to Sweden twice, and I have thoroughly enjoyed my time in Sweden, and like I'm always like thinking like, when can I go back? And both times in Sweden I've gotten to participate with friends and also like professional situations where you have fika, F-I-K-A, just sort of like a coffee break. And so I asked her, you know, is there a sort of Finnish fika? Like, do you have something like this? And she's like, not really. And this is where the story gets good. She says, we only have 2 words, like morning coffee and afternoon coffee. And I'm not even gonna try to pronounce them, but I'm gonna put them here. Morning coffee, afternoon coffee. And I'm like, are you serious right now? You have different words for morning coffee and afternoon coffee? This is amazing. This is amazing. These are my people. You drink coffee in the afternoon? What? I'm here for it. Okay. Let's go to whips. If I'm being completely honest here, I really only had 1 whip since my last episode. I wish it was more, but it's 1. I'll say 1.25. Not even. So the thing that's really stole my attention has been the Ankers summer shirt. It's just really stole my attention. And I've mentioned it that I was thinking about knitting it and swatching it. I was waiting for my 4th skein to arrive from Cedar House Yarns. So I had bought this a while ago at Naughty Lamb, and I did not have enough to do the Ankers tee, so I need to buy a 4th one. And you know, when you buy a 4th one, you don't know, like, hand-dyed yarn's never gonna be precisely the same. So it's a bit of a risk just buying a 4th one, but, and you can tell it's a different, this is the 4th one. You can tell it's a different, like a different saturation level. Of course it is, it was dyed at a different time, but it's pretty close. And so I think with alternating my yarns, it'll be perfect. So it came, and when it came, the dyer sent me a card. How sweet, she sent me this little card, and she basically just wrote that she, like, thank you for the order, and that she was moving and this took a little bit longer than it normally does. And the reason why I want to share that is this came so quickly. It wasn't even on my radar that this was coming late. And then I'm like, I get a letter that's like, sorry this took so long. I'm like, it took 2 weeks and it was tied to order. Like, maybe less, I mean, maybe exactly 2 weeks, because I had podcasted, like at the day of one podcast, I had ordered it, and then the next time I podcasted, which is like exactly 2 weeks later, I didn't have it when I podcasted, but that afternoon it was in my mailbox. So, I mean, anyway, I just wanted to say I was super impressed. And I started that sweater. And I got a large portion of the yoke done here. I'm going to be honest, I think the Ankers look so good in plain, like just a plain solid color. I think it looks good in speckled. There's something about the Ankers in a tweed that really sets my heart on fire. I knit Matilda and Ankers in a tweed yarn, and now I'm knitting myself one, and I tried this on last night with my garment little tubes, and it's fitting, like, it's fitting awesome. I still have more of the yoke to do and then increases, but I have ran out of yarn. Like, I knit a whole hank, and I purposely did not wind any more of the yarn up because I knew that in the mode I'm in, like, this is the only thing I want to do because it's easy. And I'm the kind of knitter that sometimes if I'm ever so slightly inconvenienced by a task, I just will put it off a little bit. And that brings me to my second whip. I basically did not work on my Julgran sweater for 2 weeks, essentially. So I had first in 2 weeks knit this top part, and then the next 2 weeks I had knit the bottom part. So 4 weeks, that's decent. And it's looking beautiful. It is a Christmas sweater, so there's like no rush on this. But all I needed to do next was either start the sleeves or the neck. The pattern says to start the sleeves. I like to start the necks first. I've noticed on many patterns, Love Note included, the neckline is like the last thing that it suggests to do. I am sure there's reasons for that, but I like to do the neck before the sleeves because to me, the neck affects like how my sleeves lie. So I just love to do the neck first. So I don't mind picking up stitches, but it is harder to pick up stitches than it is to just knit round and round and round. And so I said to myself, I can wind up the yarn for this if I just pick up the stitches here. Because I know once I get the stitches picked up here, I will just fly. And I don't really mind picking up stitches. It's just a slow process. And I think that that slows me down, which is why last week I showed a whip that's been languishing and all I have left to do is a button band and I haven't done it yet. And here I am 2 weeks later, even with podcast accountability, and I still haven't done it. And I don't feel bad about it because it's like, this is all for fun. And I'll eventually finish it, and it's not even sweater weather. Oh my gosh, it's not even sweater weather yet. So it's fine. It'll all work out, but I will pick up this neckline. That's the only thing I have on the needles right now. I was thinking I should start another sock, but I also just wanted to do a little bit of sweater knitting and just enjoy that right now. But Matilda, actually this week, there's no lessons. There was no violin lessons, no swim lessons, no dance lessons. Everybody's sort of taking this little break. And so there wasn't like a strong need this week to start a sock. So those are my works in progress. One of the things in the Ravelry group is there's a thread for questions for the podcast. And there was a question. Well, there's two questions actually. So the first question had to do with, what is your favorite knit for yourself, and what is a favorite knit you've made as a gift? So I thought I'd share that. So I'll start with the gift. For me, that was very maybe easy, like an easier question. It was like I couldn't stop thinking about this particular knit. And when I was pregnant with Matilda, I knit her a lot of things. I was so excited, and I don't know, it just felt so good to be knitting these tiny things for her. And so one of the things I knit while pregnant for her was this very cute little dress. I don't know if it'll show up very well here in the camera, but there's a little heart lace at the top. There's also very cute little sleeves that are short sleeves that are kind of fluttery with garter and very cute edging. That same edging is on the bottom, and there's more lace on the bottom of the dress. And then it has a very cute closure with a button on the back. And when I made this for her, I actually knit it entirely out of stash. I had some Wonderland yarns in my stash, this fingering, I used that. And the button I just happened to have in a jar. And so it feels so good too to make something out of materials you have at home. And the pattern I use is called Sproutlette, and it's by Tanis Lavalley. It's a little crinkled because it's been folded up because it doesn't fit her anymore because she's 3. Now I will say this, we got so much use out of this. She wore it as a newborn, and I have some newborn photos of her. So I'll try to pop in some photos of her here. When she was 10 days old, we did like a little newborn photo shoot, and I had her wear this and that. And then she continued to wear it as a baby. She wore it as a 3 and 6 month old baby. And eventually, as she got too big for it as a dress, she wore it more as like a tunic or a shirt. And so she would wear it with like little jeans or cute stripy leggings. And so it went from a very cute dress to a tunic. And so, you know, as a new mom, you don't know what are gonna be those very utilitarian things that you end up using a lot. And it turns out this was. And even though it's short sleeve, it was great actually too, because I remember bringing her to like a dinner party. This was clearly in the before times with a bunch of professors, and bringing her and knowing, you know, when you're leaving your house and going out, like it feels, you know, you're nervous because things are gonna get messy and things. And so I had a long sleeve onesie on her. And so she wore this, and then I remember feeling, maybe she was eating or something, and it got a little dirty, and so I just took it off, and she just wore them, the onesie, and it was fine. And then this washed well too. I know a lot of people feel pretty passionate about using superwash and acrylic for baby and child knits, and that's awesome. I'm not one of those people. I've knit her things out of cashmere and all kinds of things. I don't know. I'm like, I'll just wash it. You know, I don't know. I feel like I have nice yarn. It's one life. I'm just gonna enjoy knitting and making her things and whatever materials I feel like. So I do think this might be superwash, although I don't dry it. I always hand wash. So anyway, this was one of my favorite things I've made. And just both the garment, it's so cute, and also out of use, and also just out of like nostalgia of like, she's my first and only child, and it's just special to make her things. So the favorite thing I've made for myself, to be honest, it's so hard. I could just go on and on about nearly everything I wear regularly. I think that's one of the reasons why I like making my own clothes, both sewing and knitting. I think there's just so much reward out of making your own things. And so truly, it sounds cheesy, but it's really authentic. Almost everything I've made for myself is my favorite thing. But I wanted to challenge myself to pick something. And the thing that kept popping up in my mind is not a sweater. It's a wrap. I would call it a shawl, but it's so giant, I'm gonna call it a wrap. It could be a blanket. And I actually made it this winter. And it was my very first yarn advent. And it was a surprise for my husband. And I'm so impressed that he was able to buy an advent from one of my favorite dyers as a surprise, because you know how these things are. There's alarms, you know, you're setting them, there's dates. And yeah, just side note though, I'm getting a yarn advent from Stress Knits again this year, and it's not a surprise. I just wanted him to know like how much I loved it, so we were doing it a second time. But out of that, I was nervous that I wouldn't knit my mini skeins, because I haven't always knit my mini skeins in the past, and I'll get to that actually next here. But I did with this, and I just felt so compelled to, because they were just so beautiful. And this wrap it was just a joy to make. And I just think it was like one of those like perfect fusions where it's like the yarn was amazing, the pattern was amazing. It was a good time in my life to do it because it was Christmas break, and yeah, so and then it's very wearable, and I just could go on and on about the Stress Knits yarn advent. I think on maybe my first podcast, my first episode, I shared how I have knit a sock out of the leftovers from this. There's actually leftovers from this, and I have knit a sock out of it. Because I love this yarn so much, I covet it, that I had to even share I had to save these little scraps so I could use every little last scrap of it. So anyway, the pattern is the Adventurous Wrap by Amba O'Brien. Here's why there are so many leftovers, despite it being giant. Is when you first start, so this was day one. So when you first start, and this is day one, you don't use a lot of yarn. So then there was a lot of this left. And then each day, so here's day one, day two, day three, day four, it gets bigger and bigger. And then things at the end are, and you come back to using your day one yarn here, but there's still stuff left. I don't know how me trying this on is gonna go on the podcast here, but how have I worn this? Well, honestly, just like a blanket. I've worn it like this in my office, just kind of wrapping it around, getting cozy. This is not, I mean, I think I actually just like this. And when I was teaching with it, a scarf when I was teaching. And I know I've also actually, like, I've tied the bottom of it. I'm sure there's more ways to wear this thing, but I love it. So no doubt this is definitely a favorite. The other question that came up on Ravelry was like, how can you put a tag on the back of your sweater? And of course I've not come prepared, but many times I remember to just tie a little piece of scrap yarn on the back of my sweater so I know what side's the back. But I've also forgot to do that. So like on my green Love Note that I show in the Love Note Love knit along video, I like can never remember what side's the front or back. So I have to like hold it up and see where the high-low hem is, and I know the low side's the back side. I should just probably go back and put a little scrap yarn in there. Somebody commented in my group that they actually buy tags. I've never bought tags from my knitted sweaters, so if you have some you use, like I would love for you to share that below or like link that. That would be cool. Or message me. I would just love to see what some of them look like. My mother had bought me for Christmas last year some tags, but I think that those tags are more appropriate for sewn garments because it had sticky across the whole back, so you would just like stick it down. And I was nervous about using that in my knitting because I was scared it might affect like the stretch in the back of the stitches. So yeah, so tell me about how you differentiate the front and the back on your sweater. I'd love to know. Okay, dream knitting. My dream knitting is related to this because I have some mini skeins in my stash. I think I have like 4 sets of mini skeins in my stash. So 2 sets of 12. I have a set of 24, which I've shown on this channel on episode 2, I think, on Cannon Hand Dyes. And then this, another set of 24. And this, what I'm about to show you, has been in my stash for a long time, and I've not knit it. And I love it so much. I'm like, why have I not knit this? Because I just stare at it and I love it so much. And I think maybe it's just like this pressure of finding like the most epic project ever, but that's just silly because I could probably just knit one of these again and it would be incredible. But I think I might have picked out a project for it, so I'm going to share that. Well, first I'm going to share what I'm talking about. I would say this has been in my stash for 2 years now. Yeah, 2 years. And I've not knit it. What is wrong with me? It is so amazing. Okay, first I'm gonna give you some details. This is made by Stitch Together Studio. And it says mini skein set, rainbow chain mini skein set. There, I'll make a smile out of it. I love this so much. And I haven't even undone it because I just like how it's, I love the order it's in. Obviously you don't have to knit it in this order, however, whatever you would decide to do with it. So what am I gonna do with this besides stare at it? Although that's what I do, that's my choice, but I love it. What I wrote down is what I keep thinking about with this is Ambo O'Brien has so many Advent patterns, and you don't have to knit them at Advent time. You can knit them anytime with any set of 24. And I am thinking I would like to knit what is called a Radvent cardigan. Essentially, it is a cardigan knit from one sleeve to the other. I actually don't know this for sure. I just, looking at it, that looks like, I actually don't know that at all. I don't own the pattern yet. I haven't bought it yet, but I will. I think, I mean, just looking at it, that looks like how it's constructed. What I don't know, my only like hesitation for not casting this on yet, besides the fact that I need to buy the pattern still, is I don't know if I would be interested in doing it and just straight up fingering like this, or if I would want to hold a mohair, like do this, but like with a mohair throughout. And then like what color mohair? Sometimes I think I love pink so much I should just get a hot pink mohair and do it all the way through. And then it'll really accentuate the pinks, create some cool fabrics down here. So part of me thinks hot pink mohair. Then the other part of me is like, this is so bright, it would be maybe really cool to like integrate in a moody gray, like just do like a light gray to make it a little bit more moody. And I think that would be a vibe that could go with it really nicely. There is some gray here at the end. There is some darker speckles. It could work. Because the pattern, at least the projects in Ravelry, looks like you have options. Like you could do this, just this, or you could integrate it in mohair. So I have no idea when I will make that, or if I'll do it with mohair or not, but it's, I would say, always on my mind. Like when I think about making sweaters, this pops into my mind really frequently. And I have it in I keep it in a plastic bag in one of my IKEA cubes, and I have it in one of the cubes of like the favorite yarns of like hope to cast on soon. And that's where it lives. So there's some dream knitting for you. I keep showing it because I can't. I'm gonna end this episode, and I'm gonna end it with another giveaway. And this giveaway again comes from me. And the reason is I feel like when you get to 1,000 subscribers, you should have a cool giveaway, right? Like I just feel like it feels like a milestone, and I'm so grateful for it. I'm not really sure like what it unlocks on YouTube, to be honest, because I'm just new at this, but it seems like it unlocks some features. I'm not sure. I think it means maybe I can go live on YouTube now, which I think will work really great for our knit along, because I would like to have a YouTube live scheduled for the day of cast on for the Love Note knit along. I'm trying to pick a date, like not a date, I have the date picked, October 1st. I'm trying to pick a time, and I'm really struggling with that. Let me share what the giveaway is for this episode. So I really love rustic yarn, and I think some people are a little like scared of it, because why would you want to knit or use something scratchy or a little bit itchy? But I think that not all rustic yarn is itchy. I think it gets a bad stereotype. It's not like soft in the way that super wash wool merino is going to be, but it's soft in its own beautifully delicious way. And so that's what this is. So this is Shelter from Brooklyn Tweed. And this particular colorway is called Newsprint, and you can see why, because it's like black and white. And this is American Targhee Columbia wool, and it is not scratchy. It's not soft like merino super wash wool or mohair with silk, but it's soft in a different way. And when you block like and give your kind of rustic wool like a nice little bath or wash, it like blooms and it's even softer. And so I think if you love rustic wool, you're gonna love this, or you probably love this already and you probably knit with this, and so you'd love this. And if you haven't, I think this would be a good first rustic wool to try. So that's why I'm giving that away. And with it, because I want this to be a really epically cool giveaway. I always talk about David's tea. I talk about the peanut butter cup tea a lot, like in terms of like how delicious it is. I have not given s'mores chai as equal of attention on this channel, but I should because it is amazing. So this is the giveaway. And I think it just feels like fall to me, just like when the weather starts to get cooler and cozy, like knitting, tea. What else are you doing? Going for walks hopefully, but and enjoying the leaves changing colors. But I just, this. And what can you make out of this? I think you could make some really cute fingerless mitts. I love fingerless mitts. I have many pairs of them because I love them. I think you can make a hat. You could do something. You could do something really fun with this. You could make a Rusko Beanie. You could do this. A Rusko beanie. Oh yeah. Anyway, so how can you enter? Any comment below is going to enter you. So subscribe, comment below. What do you comment below? Well, you can tell me. Would love to know like what you're looking forward to this coming fall season, like as the cooler weather comes and you know, all the pumpkin leaves changing type of stuff. I'd love to know that. Or the other thing is, if you are a rustic wool lover, like I'm becoming, I think there's some people that like are way more rustic wool lovers than me, but like I'm coming to the other side. What are the things that you enjoy knitting the most out of your rustic wool? Like what is the thing that you're like, I have to knit this out of rustic wool as opposed to other things? I'd love to know that. So you can pick one of those questions or whatever you want to comment below to be entered for this. So thank you so much for coming here and being my knitting friend. All right, I'm gonna transition to full personal things before I say goodbye. So if you're not here for that, thank you so much. And thanks for supporting the channel. So for personal things, I usually take notes and I just realized I haven't, so this might be a little rambling, but when I think about what the last 2 weeks have really held in it, it's been really similar to the previous weeks. So I don't know how much I'll share because it might be just a little boring, but we went to the zoo again. Either August 31st or September 1st was the first day at school at my university, and I'm on sabbatical from teaching. So whatever day that was, I knew that I wanted to take Matilda to the zoo. And so we went to the zoo and it was like a fabulously cool day. And so there was way more animals out than there normally is. And so we just had a really wonderful day together. We went to the zoo the last time I recorded too. So I'm like, we go to the zoo apparently, that's what we're doing. But I want to fit in the zoo before rainy season starts because we might not be as inclined to go to the zoo when it's raining. We might want to do other indoor things. And so I just thought going to the zoo seemed like a good idea when it's so beautiful out. And we're still stand-up paddleboarding. So we did try somewhere new. Kyle, Matilda, and I, we all went together to Hag Lake, which is a lake near us. And there were so many stand-up paddleboarders out. It was the first time I've been stand-up paddleboarding when I felt like I was like surrounded by a lot of people doing it. And we just spent the whole day out there. We packed lunch, got like set up, and it was so fun. And it was interesting because it was actually way harder to stand up paddleboard on that lake that day than on the river by us. Like it was just with the wind, it was creating these waves and it took a lot of effort to paddle. But one thing that was really neat when we were out was Matilda and I were both standing up at the same time at one point. And that was sort of an achievement for us because normally she stands and I sit, or I stand and she sits, but that day we both were standing, and it felt like we were like progressing, and it was really fun. Other than that, we've just been doing a lot of like walks and bike rides, and we have this tag along sort of attachment that you can attach to your bike, and so Matilda can ride on it. So Matilda has her own balance bike that she does, and she is really into it. But we also have this bike that attaches to one of our bikes. And so on Labor Day, we attached that to Kyle's bike, and we went for a bike ride. And for Matilda, it was probably the longest bike ride she's been on with us yet, where she was doing pedaling. I think it was like 4 miles, which I know isn't a super long bike ride, but you know, she's 3. And it was across town. And so we just rode our bike across town to a different park, and I was so proud of her. And we did that more than once. I think we did that twice. And so, yeah, that was really neat to see her like getting out there and like, and she didn't complain, like, and to see her like growing and progressing as a tiny human. It was really fun, and we get to spend time together. In other kind of news, I went to the eye doctor today, just a regular annual checkup, and I got some fun glasses. I mean, I won't have them yet, but I got pink glasses. I was like looking at these 2 glasses, and one seemed very me, like what I normally get, like a plastic frame, tortoise shell, and like I like plastic frames. I have a few plastic framed glasses, large plastic frames I'm into. And so I had picked out this pair that was kind of like that. And then there was this other pair that was pink. And I was like, I am not going to get pink glasses, no. But then I kept putting them on and like loving them. They're also like not quite cat eyes, but they're not just like a plain rectangular frame either. And I just kept going back and forth between them. And I posted on Instagram, like, should I do it? And I got a lot of people who were like, do it. And so I was like, I guess I'm getting pink glasses. I really felt like I wanted them. And then I had like my Instagram friends and my husband and the person working there saying like, you look nice in these. It's okay to have pink glasses. So maybe the next time I'll film something, I will have some pink glasses to go with my pink sweaters. So anyway, thanks so much. And, you know, say hi below, message me on Instagram, join our knit along. I'd love to learn more about you. See you soon. Bye.